Alright everybody, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be updating the firmware on a FortiGate 60F firewall. So to start off, the default IP to log into FortiGate is 192.168.1.99. So I have this computer plugged into port 1 on the firewall. Ever since 6.4, you always get this little pop-up if your firmware is not up to date. But that's what we're going to be doing today, is updating the firmware. So in order to do that, you're going to get logged in. You're going to land on this dashboard. We are in VDOM mode on this, and the next thing we're going to be doing is factory resetting this so that we can set up a new lab on 7.0. But for right now, whether you are at global or whether you don't have VDOMs, it's all going to be the same. So you're going to go to System. You're going to go down here to Firmware, and in the newer versions they give you this little pop-up that basically says you should update your firmware. And 7.0.1 was actually released lately, so I was actually planning on going straight to 7.0, but we're going to go ahead and go all the way up to 7.0.1 so that we get all of the bug fixes. So because we have multiple versions to go through, it's actually going to require 2 reboots on this one. So on firmware, you're going to select it. If you have multiple versions available, they'll both be here. Or even other versions, right? So the 7.0 is available if you select all firmware. Right now we're on 6.4.4, so they have 6.4.5 released, and they also have 6.4.6 released. But we're just going to stick with the latest. And this little wizard actually walks you through the upgrade path. So if you're on an older version, sometimes I've had to do 4 or 5 steps here to get it up to the actual firmware that I want it to be on. So if you have to do multiple reboots, it's okay. It'll walk you through the upgrade path. Fortinet's actually made this process a lot more simple than it used to be back in the 5. Whatever days. So we're going to click Backup Config and Upgrade. And then while this is doing its magic, it's going to download the install image. It's going to download your backup. And then we're going to fast forward through this part. So this is going to be my first look at the 7.0 firmware. And so you're going to put your username and password in here after it reboots. And I can already tell that there is an updated favicon up here in the top left corner. So that's pretty cool. So when get your username and password in here, log in, you're going to be prompted with a little getting started video, and FortiGate always puts this little update up there at the beginning. So watch the video. It'll give you some tips and tricks on what's new in FortiOS 7.0, and then that's basically it. You're just going to repeat this process for the next step. So in the next video you're going to see that I'll be on 7.0.1. When you get in here, just make sure everything kind of comes up stable. Make sure that the CPU and the memory and all the sessions come back up. And then make sure that, I have a FortiSwitch attached to this lab. We haven't updated the firmware on that yet, but make sure that your FortiSwitch comes back up too. And then just go back to System, Firmware, and Update. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up, click subscribe, and turn on notifications because I'm going to be building out an entire enterprise network, and you don't want to miss it. Catch you on the next video.